artists, I'm Emma, Mrs. Donovan's daughter. Today we're going to be doing a project based off the book Sky Color. In the book Sky Color, the illustrator who draws the pictures and the author who writes the words is Peter H. Reynolds. So let's discuss the media that was used to illustrate this book. The medium, or the media, are the materials that the artist used to draw the pictures. We see that the artist used watercolor for the coloring and a black illustration pen for the outline. Marisol was an artist. She loved to draw and paint, and she even had her very own art gallery. Not all her art hung in a gallery. Much of it she shared with the world. She painted posters to share ideas she believed in. At school, Marisol was famous for her creative clothes, her box of art supplies, and her belief that everybody was an artist. Yes, Marisol was an artist through and through. So when her teacher told the class they were going to paint a mural for the library, Marisol couldn't wait to begin. The classroom buzzed with the sound of brainstorming. The students talked and sketched. Together they made a great big drawing. Then they marched to the library. "I'll paint a fish. I'll paint one too. I'll paint the ocean." Marisol shouted, "I'll paint the sky." Marisol rummaged through the box of paint. She could not find any blue. "How am I going to make the sky without blue paint?" The bell rang. It was time to put their brushes down for the day. As she climbed aboard the bus, Marisol kept wondering. All the way home, she stared out the window. The sun lowered closer to the horizon. So as we see on this page, the illustrator used lots of warm colors. So they used red, orange, and yellow. So those are warm colors. And he used that to portray a sunset. Later at home, Marisol watched day turn into night. That night, Marisol settled into a deep dream. She drifted through a sky swirling with colors. The colors mixed, making too many to count. In the morning, Marisol stood waiting for the bus in the rain. The sky was not blue. She smiled. So if she waited in the rain, the sky was probably not blue, because if it was blue, it would have been sunny. So it's probably gray. So we see in this picture that it's kind of gray-greenish. At school, Marisol raced to the library. She grabbed a dish and began adding colors. This one, that one. She swirled the brush to make an altogether new color. Marisol then began painting on the wall. A boy asked, "What color is that?" "That," Marisol said, "that is a sky color." Now let's start the art project. So today we're going to be making a cityscape with a sunset background using warm colors. And we're going to have an ocean using cool colors. So all you'll need is a piece of white paper, watercolors, and you can usually find some Crayola watercolors in your house somewhere, styrofoam, black paint, a pencil, and scissors or an X-Acto knife with your parents' permission. So first off, you're going to take your watercolors. Now you can use any watercolors you find in your house. As you can see, we've used these before. And as we saw in the book, we discussed the warm colors. So the warm colors include red, orange, yellow, and so we're going to paint that as our sunset. But before we do that, we're going to fold this paper in half, right, to show the difference between the sky and the water. So I'm going to fold my paper in half. Now you can use different sizes of paper. It really doesn't matter. So I'm using a thick piece of paper, so it might take a couple tries to bend it. Next, you're going to paint in the sunset. So you're going to use your warm colors. So take a brush and water and then watercolors. And you're just going to paint your warm colors, and you can blend them like a sunset. So as you can see here, I'm blending together the orange and the red. can see that I finished my warm colors for the sunset, and since it is a skyscape, we're going to be doing the water here, and the buildings will go here. So for the waters, we're going to use the cool colors. Now, like we discussed in the book, the cool colors are the blue, green, and purples. So we're going to go in, and we're going to paint the water. So if you're imagining that you're looking at the water, you might see some dark shadows, and you might see some lighter spots. So you can do that with your paintbrush by using more water to show the light spots like I did right here, and then I use more of the paint and less water to show the shadows. So when you're painting on your watercolors, you want to make sure to use crisscross strokes to indicate the water moving. So if you see, that kind of creates almost like a wave look. So now when we're thinking about perspectives, right, as things get farther away from us, they get smaller, and as things come closer to us, they get bigger. And so we're going to do that same thing with the waves. When you see the waves out far and over here, far away from you, they're really small. So to make the waves small, you would do really small brush strokes. So sometimes when you're using watercolor, your paper curls up, and to prevent that from happening, we use watercolor paper or Bristol board, and that basically prevents it from curling up. And it curls up mostly because of the water that's used when you're painting. Alright, so we're going to put our sunset and water away to dry, and now we're going to work on the cityscape. Alright, so if you have one of these styrofoam boards at home, you can use this as your stamp for the buildings. So basically how you're going to start is you're going to start by drawing a bunch of rectangles. And these rectangles are going to be all connected to each other, and they can be different sizes. And you're just going to use a pencil to outline the buildings on your styrofoam board. Alright, so next I'm going to cut out what I outlined with my pencil. Alright, so now I've cut out my stamp. I'm going to do the windows. So basically for the windows, it's super easy. All you need is a super sharp pencil, and you're just going to trace a bunch of windows. So when you're making the windows, you want to make sure that you push down hard, because when we end up stamping this on here and we paint the paint over, we want to make sure the paint doesn't get into the little pieces you push down. Alright, so I finished my windows. Now we're going to cover it in paint and we're going to stamp it on the horizon line. And this is the horizon line right here. Alright, so I have my black paint, and now I'm going to cover my city with it. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to do a light coat, right, because you don't want the paint to go into the cracks you just made for the windows. And as you see, my windows didn't come out exactly straight, but that's okay. Alright, so now that I've painted on my black paint, I'm going to stamp it onto the horizon line, just like that, and I want to make sure it's lined up. It's nice and straight. So I'm going to push down. I'm going to make sure I push down on all parts of the city, just like that. And I'm going to make sure it's nice and steady too, because you don't want the paint to smear. Alright, so then you're going to flip it down and do it on the opposite side for the reflection. And as you see, my top side didn't exactly come out great, but I didn't put on too much paint. So to prevent that from happening, you want to make sure you put on lots of paint. Alright, so as you can see on the top part here, I use more paint, and then on the bottom part I use less paint because in the reflection you don't see as much detail. Alright artists, this is what we end up with. So make sure to clean up your spot and have fun making art.